Let's do, maybe, do I need to do the Subway Surfers thing to keep you guys going? This is kind of a long video. Let's set it down there and do it. A couple of days ago, I posted a video on how I top 8'd a tournament with a $30 deck. That video got 1,000 views, so we're going to strike while the iron's hot, and let's talk about my deck, the Lucky 2's. So the deck is Lucky 2's, as always, deck list up here, deck list down below. Today we're actually going to be doing a price point version of this deck, so we have our budget one right here, our mid-range one right here, and then this expensive one down here, but we're not even going to talk about that. See, this deck actually functions, I'd say, best as a mid-range. However, there's only one card that makes it expensive, and it's this Rapunzel, because you need 4 of them. And I think that's a little unfair to price people out of playing a deck list this fun. So, like I said, we're going to start with our budget version, then we'll show the mid-range version. Lucky 2's is based off of one card that currently only costs this much, and there's 4 of them in the deck, and that is Lucky. We'll put his ability right here. Exert, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. If they cost 2 or less, you may put them into your hand. So he is a 4-cost character, so you are going to have to survive till turn 4. However, it's kind of easy with this deck, I'm not going to lie. Unless the person you're playing against is playing like Fire the Cannons or Brawl. But especially if you're going first, you should be able to make it to turn 4 no problem. Once you're at that, about 90% of your deck is just 2 drops. These are the only cards that cost more than 2. So with that said, let's play the reel right here.
Let's go gambling! I can't stop winning! I can't stop winning! I can't stop winning!
As you just saw, almost every single time you will get a perfect hit, 3 2s. And even if you don't get 3 2-drops, you get 2 2-drops. It is extraordinarily rare you won't get at least 2. 2 cards in 1 turn for free is an insane ability. Now that we understand what makes this engine work, let's move on to the budget deck. So for the budget deck, we have taken our 4 biggest spendies and have replaced them with cheaper alternatives or just cheaper cards in general that'll get the job done anyway. Rapunzel currently costs this much. That's too much, obviously. Piglet costs this much. We got Daisy for, and Lilo for this much. And while on their own, they're not that expensive, specifically without Rapunzel, it's not the worst price point. I still think it's fair to give everybody a shot at playing this deck. So I've just gone through all the penny cards in the bulk bins and seen what works best, and in my opinion, here's what works. I'm not going to claim that I came up with this idea. This is a pretty well-known fact in Lorcana, but I have decided to replace Rapunzel with Julieta. Instead of healing up to 3 damage and drawing a card for each one, this one still will heal up to 2 damage, but you only get to draw 1 card either way. It's not as good, but it's still 1 extra card that you can get, and it does come out a turn sooner, so in some people's opinion, this might be actually the better card for this deck. I have changed out Piglet with a Dalmatian puppy, and some people might find that weird. I think it actually makes perfect sense in this deck. I initially had Piglet replaced with this card. For the 1 resist, I think it's really good. That means it can't have a lot of effects done to it pretty easily. With its only 1 attack though, it can be Sisu, but with this one. And I also just noticed that having 2 attack power instead of 1 does go a long way in a deck like this. It's not uncommon to have well over 5 characters on the board with how fast this deck puts out cards. So having just at least 1 character with 2 attack to take out something definitely helps if you need to. This is where we start getting a little off course. I have replaced Daisy Duck with Args. Kind of the same idea in the sense, if we're getting rid of an uninkable, I'd like to change it out to an inkable. Also, we're going to trade the lore value for attack power, so at least you have a better chance of surviving a lot of stuff. Or, in a lot of cases, they're going to waste an entire storm on 1 Args just so they don't have to attack it. And while that's bad for you, it's actually kind of good for you because that's 1 storm that can be played on plenty of your more reliable characters. He is a huge threat when he hits the board, and a lot of people just don't play him correctly, in my opinion. And then finally, this is another one where it's a little off course, but I think it still makes sense. I have replaced Lilo Making a Wish with Aladdin, specifically the set 4 Aladdin. He only does 1 lore, but he is a 1/3, and that's a very specific number in this case. Lilo's number 1 thing is that she gets taken out very, very early. So you're gonna get your 2 lore, but she's immediately gonna go away. There is a pretty high chance he will stay on the board for at least 3 turns of questing before he officially gets taken out. It's just that's specifically why I chose this card. It can be any 1/3. You could do Daisy Duck from set 4 Amber. I just really wanted to put this one in there because I have the shiny of it and I think it looks cool. So now that we have the super budget deck out of the way, let's talk about the mid-range deck. So for mid-range, you're still gonna get to play Piglet and Lilo and Daisy. I haven't changed that. The price is a little bit steeper than the last one, with it coming in at about $50. But I will say you will notice an incredible difference. Some people that I've talked to about this deck, they didn't want to pay the full price, so they've changed out like 2 Daisies with 2 Args or whatever, because they still wanted that attack power. And they noticed similar results as to playing the mid-range one, so if you're trying to look at something for more like $30 or $20, go for it. Take out Daisy. Daisy is a good card for questing, and they will stay out a lot, but that caveat of them being able to get an extra character can be very detrimental to your gameplay. So if you don't like Daisy, good. Take her out. That'll save you so much money right now. Talk a couple of the in and outs of the mid-range deck, because I actually think this one plays the best in my opinion. It's the most fun. It still does decently competitively, as good as a weenie drop deck can do, and I just feel like it is really nice. So I think for starters, let's talk about what is your best turn 1 play. Now, we have 3 real contenders for that: Mickey Mouse Food Fight, Daisy Duck, and Pluto. Now, I'm gonna say, depending on who you're going against, it is probably one of these 2. Now, personally, I will play Pluto anytime I'm going against somebody who I just doesn't think plays Fire the Cannons, Brawl. But it's not exactly there as a turn 1 play. That really helps, but that's not necessarily why Pluto is here. Pluto's here for when you get the lucky 2 streak going of just 3 cards, 3 cards, 3 cards, 3 cards, you can lay out 3 Plutos. They can take maybe 2 out, but they're probably not taking them all out. And by that point, next turn, you have it. You can tap them all, play pretty much any card from your hand for free. These 2 are the best starting cards to play though. I would personally keep Mickey Mouse in my hand just for ink, because this deck does play an absurd amount of uninkables. But they're both really good. They both have one thing in common, which is that they both stay out on the field for a pretty long time. Daisy with 4 health, Mickey with 1 resist. They're both decent. And this is technically the better turn 1 play, because you can quest her over and over and over again, and she's probably not going to be gone anytime soon. No one just has the attack power right now to banish her super quickly. I'm not going to make a video about turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but I am going to talk about what's the best mulligan, what are the best things you want to see, what do you want to keep, and what is the correct way to mulligan with this deck, because that is what I think keeps a lot of players away from playing their favorite decks. It's just they don't know what to mulligan. To start, here are my top 5 favorite cards to see when I get my starting hand. So, my top 5 cards I like to see in this deck. Let's start with number 5, Mr. Smee. He's good to see. I'm not exactly mulliganing for him, but he's really good just for that 3-hit. Overall good card. I talked about him in my last video. He's a mainstay of any deck who plays Steel. He's really good. If I get him, I might hold on to him, honestly, just for the ink, and for the fact that if I do play him, hey, that's a 3/3. I'm taking that. Caveat, the only pirate captain in this deck is Piglet, so it is kind of hard to keep him from taking damage. But you do have Julieta to heal him with, so if you get Julieta off on turn 4, good. Take the 2 damage off him. Number 4, I'm going to say is PETA, Bodyguard. Pretty good card. I like it. It's a 2/3. It's just a decent body with Bodyguard. It isn't a card I play on turn 2 necessarily, but it's just an overall good card. You can't ever go wrong playing it. There's really never a bad time to play it per se. And again, good ink. Number 4, let's talk about Windy Sailor. Oh wait. Windy Darling is number 4 on our list. It's a 2-quester with a 1/3. Not said, I like it. Finally, here are the top 2 cards you want to see in a mulligan for 2. Daisy Duck, good 1-drop. First turn of the game is a good play, and generally speaking, good card. That's all. And the best card you want to see in your mulligan is Lucky. You don't want to get this card later on. You need to know you have this card. I mean, there will be times I will pitch basically my whole hand just to hope and pray I get this card. Because you need this card to make this deck function as well as possible. You don't really have much searching. So if you don't get this card in your starting hand, 50-50 chance you get it later, but you only really have 3 turns to draw it and then play it. For an overall mulligan though, I'd say look to only have about an even split of inkables to non-inkables. I try and always hope for about 4 inkables and only have 3 uninkables, but generally speaking, it's not the hardest thing to make it through a game with only 4 ink. So yeah, let's talk about some of the ins and outs of this deck. So anybody who's paying attention to that deck list might have noticed that this card's in it, Perdita. Perdita is really, really good. I think she makes Lucky 2's work if you can get her out. Otherwise, meh. But turn 6, is it a good card? No. Does it work? Yes. Another card, this is another card you can take out or have less of in your deck if you're just trying to cut on cost. But she is only about $2, if I'm not mistaken. She is a necromancer, pretty much, so you quest her, you get to bring a 2-drop card from your graveyard back to the play area. So, pretty good. It definitely applies the pressure for a win. There's really no way to take her out in the sense that she's a 1/6, aside from having a Sisu or something. But by turn 6, in my opinion, the game should already be over. If you have not won by turn 6, that's rough, but with this card you could probably squeeze out the win. Aside from that, we do have Gaston, the one that lets you pay 2 less for a chosen character. Good card. I think I would trade it out sometimes with a inkable 3-drop, but generally speaking, he is in here for one other reason. He is in here for Lufo. I think I said that right, Lufo. He costs 1 less when you have Gaston out, so that turns him into a 1-drop. He is a 2-quester. I don't think this card is as useful as I truthfully thought it was when I first put it in here. I remember thinking, yeah, I'm going to get Gaston on the board and I'm going to immediately play him. But no, it's not that great. It is good if you're on like turn 4, you have 4 ink and the only card you have in your hand are Gaston and this. But otherwise, it's not the greatest pull. It's just another card you can get from the Lucky 2's draw. But yeah. So overall, that's the deck. Sorry, kind of a weird video today. I don't really have much to say about this. I'll put all the deck lists down below. If anybody has any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I try and reply to everybody if I really have an answer. If you have a card that you think could be used in a deck that's kind of gimmicky, put it in the comments and I'll see if I can make a deck out. Some clear examples, in my opinion, of what I've been looking into to making a good deck is Grandma Tala and Grandpappy. I think those look cool, but I'm not sure if they really work right now. Also, tomorrow I will be at Protospiel Cleveland for my game, Garden Build Battle. If any of y'all are watching this and are in the North Olmsted, Cleveland area, feel free to come on down and check it out. So I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.